Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. My name is J.P. Kennedy, the United States Attorney for the Western District of New York, and I'm here today, along with several of our partners in law enforcement, to announce the arrest of 5 individuals who have been charged in 2 separate federal criminal complaints for their involvement in schemes involving 2 different pawn shops here in the city of Rochester. First, the Rochester Pawn and Gold, RPG, located at 1440 Dewey Avenue in the city, and Royal Crown Pawn and Jewelry, refer to it as Royal Crown, 3635 Dewey Avenue here in the city of Rochester. The first complaint relates to RPG Pawn Shop and charges Thomas Neri, age 35, the owner of that pawn shop, along with Eric Finnefrock, age 27 of Rochester, and Ralph Swain, age 30 of Farmington, both of whom were employees at that pawn shop. The second complaint relates to Royal Crown and charges 2 individuals, Devin Tribuno, 35, who's the owner and operator of that pawn shop, and Wade Shaders, age 22, of Rochester, an employee at that pawn shop. All 5 of these individuals are charged with wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, selling and conspiring to sell stolen goods across state lines, and engaging in financial transactions involving the proceeds of specified unlawful activities. In the event of conviction, these charges carry a maximum penalty of 20 years imprisonment and/or a $250,000 fine. In addition, the defendants Finnefrock, Swain, and Tribunella are also charged with aggravated identity theft. And in the event of conviction on that count, will carry a mandatory consecutive 2 years imprisonment to any crime, any other crimes, or any other sentence imposed. As alleged in these criminal complaints, the defendants recruited individuals who were struggling with opiate addiction to steal or boost merchandise from various retailers here in and around the city of Rochester. Those retailers included CVS, Wegmans, Walmart, Target, Kohl's, Circuit City, Lowe's, and Home Depot. As alleged in the complaints, the defendants would identify those items that they were interested in having stolen based upon what was in high demand or selling at high profit on eBay online. As alleged in the complaints, the defendants would, armed with these shopping lists, the boosters, would then steal new in-box items, which they would in turn sell to RPG and Royal Crown. The defendants would typically purchase this stolen merchandise for a small fraction, approximately 30% of its actual retail value. They would purchase numerous new in-box items from the same boosters multiple times each week, and sometimes even multiple times each day. In order to perpetrate this scheme, the defendants made false and fraudulent representations in an online database known as Leads Online, as well as in their user agreements with both eBay and Amazon. And they would do that in order to try and make their acquisition of these goods look legitimate. They would then subsequently resell the stolen goods on eBay or Amazon and ship them to buyers, including individuals outside of New York State. Between January of 2015 and August of 2019, the RPG defendants Neri, Finnefrock, and Swain are accused of having purchased and resold roughly $12.5 million worth of stolen goods on eBay and Amazon. Between January of 2017 and September of 2019, Royal Crown defendants Tribunella and Shatters are accused of having purchased and resold roughly $3.2 million worth of stolen goods on eBay. Notably, the easy access to cash that these pawn shops provided to drug users who were willing to steal merchandise helped to fuel the opioid epidemic in our community. I'll explain. In 2018, 930 people overdosed from opiates in Monroe County. Of those, 542 individuals who were overdosed, roughly 58% of all those people who overdosed had a history of selling stolen merchandise to pawn shops. Through September of this year, 2019 that is, 522 individuals have overdosed in Monroe County so far. Of those, 228, or about 44% of those who overdosed, also had a history of selling merchandise to pawn shops. What is particularly disturbing is that during 2018 and 2019, there have been 15 recorded instances of individuals who have overdosed within 5 days of selling merchandise to pawn shops, in particular RPG and Royal Crown. 3 of those overdoses proved fatal. By way of example, and I know it's not even our most recent example, on October 18th, 2019, an individual identified as VC suffered a fatal overdose. VC had 3 prior recorded sales to RPG for a total of $650 in the 3 weeks before his death. On October 17th, one day, the very day before VC died of an overdose, VC sold an Apple iPod to RPG for $130. This cycle of theft and resale has resulted in Monroe County having some of the highest incidents of retail theft in the country, according to statistics maintained by nationwide retailers. And while the link between property crimes and drug addiction has long been recognized, this prosecution demonstrates an undeniable link between property crimes and overdose deaths in our community. The conduct of RPG and Royal Crown was egregious. It's one thing to come up with a scheme that deprives retailers of their profits. It's something different altogether, however, to come up with a scheme, as these defendants are alleged to have done, in which your success as a fraudster is enhanced by your ability to get drug-addicted individuals not only to do your dirty work, but to do so that you can reward them by giving them what they need to do further harm, or in some instances, even kill themselves. I'd like to recognize the tremendous work done by our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners here. The Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigation Division, under the direction of Jonathan Larson, Special Agent in Charge, the New York Field Office. The Rochester Police Department, under the direction of Chief LaRon Singletary. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office, under the direction of Sheriff Todd Baxter. The Greece Police Department, under the direction of Chief Patrick Phelan. The Monroe County the Monroe County District Attorney's Office under District Attorney Sandra Dorley, and last but not least, the prosecutor assigned to this case, Assistant United States Attorney Megan McGuire. With that, I'm going to turn it over to other individuals who have an opportunity to speak with you, and we'll open up to questions after that. Thank you. Patrick.
Thank you. I'd just like to add that a lot of people look at the crime of larceny, shoplifting, and think that it's not important, it's not a big deal, it's a low-level crime, as it were. But as Mr. Kennedy said, the losses that these retailers experience result in millions and millions of dollars of losses. And this retail larceny fuels the drug trade in our community. In large part, the people that are committing these larcenies are drug addicted. They're getting the money, they're stealing things from retail stores, they're selling the things at pawn shops, and they're taking that money and they're buying drugs. And in a lot of cases, those drugs are killing them. So it's not a low-level crime. It is a big deal, and this is an important arrest. The only other thing I'd like to tell you is that we stand here today and we know that these 2 businesses are not the only 2 businesses of this type in our community. And I'd like this to serve as a warning to the rest of them that we know who you are, and you'll be seeing us very soon.
Okay, with that, any questions?
Were these 2 pawn shops operating together in this scheme or independently of each other and doing the same thing?
I think generally they were doing the same thing. They were, as many pawn shops do, and they were generally independent from each other.
How did you find out about this? Did you use undercovers? Did you know?
It was RPD officer and a Monroe County Sheriff's officer who were assigned to the licensing unit, who noticed the problem, spoke with national retailers, and brought it to the attention of the rest of the agencies here, and really drew the connection for us between the opioid crisis and the thefts.
Megan, can you spell your name on the record for us?
MEGHAN MCGUIRE.
The people who were acting as the theft ring, in some ways, they're victims too in all of this. Can someone kind of address that a little bit? I mean, you somewhat did in your comments, but.
I did. I mean, obviously they're addicted people, and we know, as we've learned in the past several years, we're really sort of attacking with our partners at the Sheriff's Department, RPD, and the District Attorney's Office attacking this opioid problem, we've learned that they are addicts. They suffer from a disease, and that to prey on sort of that addiction so that these individuals can line their pocketbooks and enhance their bottom line, to me, strikes me as particularly egregious. And I think that that's, you know, what we saw here today with these arrests and some seizures that we made. You know, these people lived, some of them had, you know, all the toys, if you will. There were a number of vehicles seized today. And to see people that were more concerned with that than with the lives of their fellow citizens is very concerning. And that's why, as the chief said, we're going to continue to pursue these individuals. My understanding is that they have licenses granted by the various municipalities, and I'm sure that those will be examined by those municipalities to determine whether they will be permitted to continue to do business. So it's very alarming, it's very concerning, it's sort of very ugly too in my view, that people would trade, finance their lifestyles on the health and well-being of others in our community.
You mentioned you seized vehicles. Was that the yellow Lamborghini and the Porsche that all belonged to?
There were 3 vehicles seized. Yes, it was a Lamborghini, a Mercedes-Benz, and a Rolls-Royce.
Those belong to Mr. Tribunella?
Yes.
Why were those vehicles seized? Were they used somehow, or were they the proceeds to purchase them, or why in the scheme of
Right.
things?
There's under federal forfeiture law, anything which is used to facilitate certain crimes or to represent the proceeds of certain crimes can be seized. So it was on that basis these vehicles were seized. Yes?
And I'm sorry, I know this was addressed. I don't mean to make anybody repeat themselves, so I just want to be clear about how y'all were tipped off onto this scheme.
It was just through the observance of an RPD sergeant and Monroe County Sheriff's deputy who have spent years in the licensing unit kind of monitoring pawn shops' general compliance with local laws. And in the years of that experience, they drew the connection between what was going on in those pawn shops and what the people who were coming in to sell were doing with the money that they were getting and where they were getting the products from in the first place.
So how long did this investigation last?
About a year.
About a year.
I mentioned it too in my comments that these individuals took steps to try and sort of hide what they were doing by, there are online resources available that attempt to ferret out stolen property, but they took steps to evade that, and so credit the police officers just walking the beat and that are able to sort of recognize this and bring this multi-million-dollar fraud to light. So all credit to them.
How long do you believe this was going on?
Well, the loss amounts that we have go back to, I believe, 2016, so I mean at least several years.
How does that coincide with the rise of opioid overdoses in Monroe County?
Well, it also coincides with sort of the rise in opioids. I'm not saying that one is probably the product of the other. The opioid addictions, is a powerful motivator, let's put it that way. And so when there's an opportunity that these people sort of put out there to make money so that addiction can be fed, it fueled, it became sort of a one hand washing the other in terms of feeding the addiction that these people suffered from. Now, of course, also in that is the rise in fentanyl that we saw, the deadly opiate, that's really sort of been a game changer in terms of costing individuals their lives. So, I mean, it's a confluence of factors, but they're not entirely independent of one another.
Is this an open investigation? I refer to the chief's comments.
I think the chief already answered that, yes. Thank you.
Chief, do you have reason to believe that any of these businesses that you say are on your radar are operating in Greece?
That's a distinct possibility, yes. There's a lot of pawn shops in our community. Some of them are legitimate and some of them are not. That's the simple fact.
Is there one town or city where you believe this might be happening more than another?
I don't think so. I think it's pretty widely spread.
And, I think the case further highlights sort of the efforts that have been made, and not really even by so much by my office, but by our partners at the district attorney's office, the sheriffs, and the RPD to sort of attack this opioid crisis in many different ways. And this is just another sort of blow that we're trying to strike to preserve lives in our community, these indictments. So it has, certainly there's a fraud component and everything else, but it's also done for the safety of our community.
You know how many people you actually, they had out shoplifting? Like
I don't have that information. I don't think we can even get a handle on that. A lot,
Dozens?
at least.
Multiple.
Yes.
Can you talk on, I'm sure, an investigation like this, when you're talking online and following purchases, there's a lot of agencies and a lot of legwork and a lot of layers that go into bringing this all together.
That's true, and I mean it's represented here today from the district attorney's office to all the local sheriffs and local police departments have, worked tremendously with our partners in the IRS. In fact, it was a lead federal agency in this case, which is, they're oftentimes, thought of only involved, in April when our taxes are due, but they're dedicated agents working throughout the year, and they, working with our federal partners, we're able to sort of pull this all together. And credit to Megan McGuire, our AUSA, who was able to pull this together too. She has a background in sort of white-collar law, and she did a tremendous job, sort of taking all these different pieces and building this case. So credit to them. It is a lot of work, but it's important work, and the lives of some in our community are dependent upon it. So that's why we spare no expense in pulling together these sorts of investigations.
The wire fraud, is that related to using the internet?
It is, yes.
And what about the money laundering?
That's any time people engage in financial transactions involving certain amounts of money or involving certain proceeds of unlawful activities, that can be charged as money laundering as well. So basically, they use the proceeds from their sales to further perpetuate their crime, basically. Thank you.
Yeah.